This is where we say, what's next? It's been a race which, very much like round two, the drivers have not quite had the opportunity to understand where they're racing and how they're racing. They will get the shock that they will know that they are heading, of course, to the United States, to a circuit where everything just so happens to be bigger. It is the circuit of the Americas and the fourth round of your F2 Creator Series Season 8 as we get ourselves into full swing with a championship in the hands of Formula Karen as things stand. My name's Jake Sperry. Along with me for today is Adam Reed as we get ourselves situated right now at the 1/3 stage of this championship. And Adam, as we sit down and say, you know what, this is where we've got to push. We got two races as per usual, sprint and feature, and pretty much it's going to be a case of who wants to prove it more at a track of 3 different sectors.
Hi Jake, absolutely. COTA is one of those circuits that is going to be highly challenging. Of course, you got that first sweeping section. Of course, it was so well known, replicating the likes of Silverstone and Suzuka. That's where the inspiration has been taken from. And then, of course, you got that long straight all the way down the back straight. So you've got to add a little bit less downforce to your car, but of course you've got to keep that downforce as well for that last section where it becomes very tight, very twisty. Those setups will be very interesting. We don't have a wild card for tonight, so apply whatever setup you can. And of course, it's got announced very last minute, so there has been a couple panics from some of our drivers to get those setups ready. And I think it's going to be very complex to get that kind of COTA setup right, unless it has some drivers have got some pre-planned knowings of what they're doing. Apart from that, we're in for a really good race. COTA has shown some really good races, especially with the Formula 2 cars as well. From the racing we have seen, it's going to be very fun, very very dramatic, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of action all throughout the next 2 races.
I think we will as well. As things look, we have kept our eyes very firmly put forward on who can do what when it comes to this series. And when you've been looking around at who's been scoring the most amounts of points, Formula Karen has been on the top. A win for him in the feature, as well as with F1 Alex for Invicta, of course, at the Fan Vote Grand Prix, which was around in round number 3 last week. Gives you a real pick. Different drivers from different, I would say, areas of strength are going to find that week in and week out. And that week in, week out scenario, Adam, that we sit down, we look at and we say, right, this is going to be an any given week style series. Right now, it's a case of any given week. What can you do to put yourself in the top position? What can you do to find? We are going to be heading over to our action of the sprint race shortly. So any given week, I think, is going to be important for those drivers, especially on that initial sprint race.
It really will be. I think the kind of the key here, just to stay out of trouble, it's very easy to do so, especially on that long run up towards turn number 1. It banks uphill, and of course you've got to try and get the nose, and you will see about 2, 3, probably even 4 cars wide. So it'll be nice if you just stay out of a bit of trouble to survive in this race. But of course, we are really set to see so many side-by-side places. I think turn 1, and of course that back straight will be a hot spot for overtaking. And when DRS does get activated in that second lap, we will be seeing a lot of cars really going at each other. And also, I wonder who will want to play conservative. Of course, there's a whole 16 laps to get through just to score a few points, but we're going to go to lights out very soon.
We certainly are, because we're going to get everyone on their formation lap. Yours sincerely, who of course is down at the back of the championship with 2 championship points, is going to be out there at the front. You look at the drivers who are there over towards the back, are those up at the pointy end of the championship. So Formula Karen, F1 Scott, Crazy up there, as well as F1 Alex in 4th position. So all of those drivers looking to try and prove what they've got. But this is effectively your last to first challenge for those nearer the back. They've got to make their way through and make their way through quickly. But This is where a formation lap becomes important here, Adam, because if you get disqualified over the course of your formation lap, well, you're going to have to sit for a very long time with some very cold tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. With the way these Formula 2 cars are set out, of course, those tyres will lose heat. They're very, very difficult to withhold heat. And I really do think that it will be a big, big challenge to try and withstand just trying to get some tight in the temperature there. There you can see the Road in Motorsport Toyota Gazoo livery just being driven down there. I believe that was, I'm not entirely sure who that was quite on the left-hand side of the graphics, but what I can assure you is that we are in for some really, really interesting racing. I think that with the way the quick guys are at the back, I can see definitely Adam Sanderson maybe being able to make up a few positions in his Prema.
Ooh.
Speaking of the disqualification, that is our championship leader, Formula Karim, who is going to be going to the back of the grid with stone cold tires. He'll have to try and take maybe a lap or two to get them up to temperature, and then he'll have to try and make his way through, gather a couple of points. But I can really sense a little bit of chaos, a little bit of argy-bargy here. So one of the Van Amersfoorts goes for a little bit of a donut into the grid slot, but it didn't quite go to plan. But the final procedures are being done now. There is your sincerely, your pole sitter, slotting up into pole position on the clean side of the circuit. Now we wait for the rest of the grid to form up, waiting to get those 5 red lights going.
They certainly will do. And of course, it's a long, long wait as the drivers at the back of the field look to put themselves on to their grid position. They estimate that it's about a minute it takes to get into that in the next couple of moments. Yours sincerely and Duncan on at the front, hoping their run is going to be what's needed as we get ourselves the green flag and we are underway, climbing up the top of the hill, hoping for an angle through up at Big Red for the opportunities. There's Blackmere in the Van Amersfoort trying to find his way through. Duncan side by side then as they run through towards turn 2. Just 11 laps to try and sort everything out, and already we're seeing drivers making places the way that they'd want to. Karim already up into 15th position, and look at them as they fan 2, almost 3 wide. Yellows in sector 1.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very usual sight to see. I saw a couple of cars being spat off onto the left-hand side in Formula Karim. I think you said he was up to 15th for a moment. He backed down to 20th, more contact. I believe that's going to be Adam Sanderson in the Prema there, getting involved in a little bit of argy-bargy. 4 wide going in toward the hairpin section. I think one of the dams involved. I believe that's going to be one of the MPs involved as well. A little bit of argy-bargy. Oh my goodness me, I didn't expect this to be this early on. There goes the Williams Cape Car livery MP Motorsport. The 2 MPs are now going at it here. The 2 cars that were driven by Dennis Hauger and Franco Colapinto up the inside. Go Formula Kai to try and make a move down in towards 12 here. But I'm not entirely sure he made any of those moves, and he didn't. Trying to go around the outside of that livery MP.
Yep, he's really trying through the arena section now. Formula Kai onto the inside, and Hoodie Pete doesn't really have too much there. Oh, there's a little bit of front to rear wing contact. More arguments there in the back as the likes of Crazy will now find himself moving backwards through the field. Oh, and look at this, over to the penultimate corner, out on track, getting as much as possible. Formula Kai just about holds his station, and guess what he wants? Massive lock up then through the final corner, as it's the like of Bushy Ants who is trying to make some progress back up through after a qualifying position, who is right up there, now looking to drop down. Duncan, your leader. You're sincerely in second. Blackmere fighting off Gwatz and Luke Howick there for third. The middle of the pack right now is a free-for-all in the middle, and through the Inspired S's section, they will go. The likes of Chesnoy Gaming dropping down the order. Look in the background, they are 2 wide and 2 deep through the S's, and normally it's single file.
It is normally in that kind of sense, but right now they're just trying to get any position they possibly can. As you said, it's a free-for-all. Get any position you can, any position you can. A little bit of a wiggle there from Sanderson up at the top of the crest, and now here's Ricky 03 heading down in towards the hairpin here. A 10-11 dive there from, I believe that is the that's the one of the AIX racing car there, Formula Karim. He tried to go up the inside of the Invicta car of Ricky, but Ricky was having absolutely none of it. But down the straight we go. We look back to the forefront here because Watts is under pressure with Yours Sincerely trading positions here and there, and that's the Van Amersfoort car of Blackmere. So it's Van Amersfoort from Trident, Van Amersfoort from Trident, the team from the Netherlands against the team from Milan in Italy. Those two cars are going to be heading up the front four positions, the further back two. Oh, contact, who was that there, Jake?
Yeah, that was close because that's Bushy Ants, who's now going to potentially drop another one, going side by side with F1 Alex, looking for points out there. Remember, it is going to be a full 8 points out there for the win. Then it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well, 8 down to 1 as you go through 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So a top 8 required out there at the moment. Bushy Ant sees Formula Karim flying and has been taking advantage one at a time of every place he needs. And at the start of lap 3, moves into the right position out there. Now, these drivers will be thinking about their tyre choice out there. You can see the yellow wall tyres on the majority of these drivers, and they'll be looking around saying, well, we absolutely do not want to pit, but these 11 laps make it an awkward distance whether you want to go soft or hard. Hard will guarantee you the end of the race, but you might be slightly slower. But if you go on to the softer compounder tyre, you might have to struggle with tyre life towards the end. Duncan, your leader, Gwatz, of course, over that last lap, getting through both Blackmere and Yours Sincerely to go to second. And now here comes the look to the inside of Ricky 03. That's Arsenault hoping for the pass, running wheel to wheel in cars which are traditionally quite understeery and very different from what the F1 car very much is, Adam.
Yeah, very much so. They're two completely kettle of fish here. And now we see Arsenault trying to slip up the inside there of the yellow and black Invicta. And of course, another Williams Cape livery there in the form of the ART racing team. They are just, oh, contact, more contact. I think that's Adam Sanderson getting involved in that one. So that's not the first time he's been spun round. More moves being made. I think that's the number 1 Alpine Academy livery ART in that one. So both ARTs getting involved right in the thick of the action. F1 Alex having to be slowed down there. It is chaos in the mid-pack here and still continues at that kind of free-for-all, as we say. It's almost like a battle zone out there, but apart from holding guns and pistols, you're racing with spec Formula 2 cars out on a racing circuit. 3 wide up toward the top of the mountain, and this is going to get pretty close here, Jake.
It certainly will, and F1 Scott will take a 10-second penalty and retire this one. So the driver who walked into today's second is certainly not going to be doing much of that with that sort of performance here in the sprint. So keeping an eye on it, F1 Alex seeing Bushy Ants go incredibly wide, trying to gather it back up then through this next section of road, flicking through the lefts and the rights towards turn 8 and turn 9 up the top of the hill. So now they're really trying to run in line. And meanwhile, as all of this is going on, keep an eye out at the front of this field because Duncan is going to be under a little bit of pressure out there overall from Gwatz, who's got the gap down to 1/10 of a second and in fact has just taken the race lead away out there at the front. So Gwatz getting it done into the prime place turn 12, and Duncan, who is hoping to build that margin here, is now going to have to try and work with Gwatz to get away. They've got 3 seconds to Luke Howick, who's had a great drive in 3rd position, and they still continue on. This is crazy up against Ultra Killer.
Oh, they're going to be going side by side once again into that very, very tight corner. They head their way through. You can very easily take that side by side, but you've got to be careful. Otherwise, you don't want to have a car running into the side of you. That can definitely happen at some points. They're still running through side by side, wheel to wheel, really having the rubber being flicked up and onto the side of the car. A little bit of a push there, in fact, there from Arsenault, but it looks like the number two ART is going to slip on through there, but no, they continue side by side, and there's still a little bit of rubbing there, but it looks like Ultra Killer is just going to stick him behind, gather the slipstream, go up the hill, later on the brakes. Oh, but he's not quite there. He's having to bash his way through. Oh, that was interesting in that one. There's still contact in behind. And Riccio3 says, well, I'm just going to try and go around the outside here and just nab your positions. Easy as you like. But, of course, as we know, it's not as easy as you like. And there's more contact. That was, I think, Arsenault once again getting involved in contact here and there. And it really is just not a place you want to be, especially if you're a driver that is really looking to score points in the championship.
Wow. What I think's quite telling here is how hard they're battling and how far away the points may just fall away if they continue in that sense. So you really look around and think, well, what do you need to do? You need to stay calm and find what you can. Blackmere through on Luke Howick. You can see using the DRS on the straight and getting that launch, which is so very important. Back again on the brakes. Formula Karim right now has got a couple points. Sanderson there just behind Adam Sanderson. As wide behind went Formula Kai, trying to hold on to as much as possible, but on with Adam Sanderson. You really get a sense of how much work you have to do in the middle sector in towards the final sector, and through the triple right you are holding on, hoping that you've got all of the downforce available to you to go out there and attack. Immediately over to the right hand side of the circuit, Adam, to go attack the next phase, which is this next left-hander, and then the Andretti, the final corner out on circuit. Or should we not use that in a Formula context?
Absolutely, yeah. They're really still running close in this one. Up the inside, there goes Luke Howick. He's really been on a charge recently, and he's really made a nice move there on Blackmere. And the number 7 moves up there into the podium places, so he's looking to potentially take a big 6 points. But I wanted to go back to Sanderson for a moment because, of course, he's been on a roll in the last couple of seasons. He has really been improving week on week in those Formula 2 cars. I've complimented him previously, back when he was known for being in that beautiful Trident car with the purple, red, and blue. But he switched to that Prema, and with the new spec, I think he's having a few struggles, and it's kind of clear to see he's not quite got out of that corner, and he's now being overtaken here by Kreisig. He's going to try and challenge that around the outside. Absolutely going to try a bit of a switchback, get the throttle back down, but he's also now got a high-tech car right in front of them, so a potential of a double overtake here. He's got double dose of the slipstream, 3 wide going in towards turn number 12 here. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? That's going to go to B-Roy, it looks like. No, that's going to be Kreisig, in fact, in the ART. So really good stuff there from the Alpine Academy Capes livery, and Kreisig's really putting a good mood, a very brave mood to be in fact there. And of course well, it's a usual dive bomb down at turn 15. It's not a rare occurrence, very common, but yeah, bold there from B-Roy. He really wanted that position and got it.
Well, that's a lovely move there. A dive down the inside, commanding the main part of the circuit. Looking here at Blackmere and himself with Luke Howick. The gap has really extended out as Adam Sanderson now gets 3 seconds worth of time penalty. You look at the penalties, half the field now have managed to pull them up. Oh, as he goes through with a couple of moments out there, and now he's really hoping here is Blackmere that he doesn't have to deal with the likes of yours sincerely for the rest of this race. And of course that car that's 2 seconds down the road, Formula Karim, the championship leader, who is motoring out there at this point. But those at the front have been very fortunate in this race that the middle of the pack has battled so heavily that they've been able to hold that margin. Ultra Killer gets a few penalties more, and Adam Sanderson here looking at B-Roy in 8th position, wanting it on the road, but not necessarily, so to speak, here right now, Adam, in a position where he can go and get that outright. He'll need to build a gap over to B-Roy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the way it works. White moment. Oh, got a smack in the side there from the high tech toe, managing to put that straight front there. So a bit of an unfortunate there for B-Roy. But Sanderson does move up into that 8th place. Now we see Blackmare making that lunge up the inside at turn number 12, coming over to trying to cover off that inside line and manages to do it. Howick just now having to slip back on the right-hand side. More contact as they head their way through, gonna fight that around the outside. I think they're jumping a little bit here and there, so that's going to be a little bit connection, but we're going to try and brush over that. But some really nice moves, really good racing, and we've still got a few more laps to go. So if you are enjoying this, really just keep enjoying it, because we do still have many more laps to go, and it's not going to be done at the front just yet, because Nockwats and Duncan are going to be separated by 0.4 of a second as they head their way up towards the next sequence of corners.
They certainly are. A couple of tenths of a second between them. And Duncan, I think, has been really coy with the way that he's run this race. He's just sat, seen Gwatts get to the front. He's just going to follow in his wheel tracks and realise, you know what? There's not really much point in fighting, as it looks like B-Roy is in a world of trouble there on the yellow flags. And look at him. He spun at the opening sector of the circuit. So he's now got to find a way after big red corner to get himself back in. That drops him down to 16th. There's your places. But Ricky 03's now moved up forward, so still no 8th place for Adam Sanderson. He's not getting quite what he's bargained for in this race. Up over the top of the rise, there is Ricky, and that's what he's trying to chase down in front of him. Those 5 cars in front right now, which is led by Blackmere with Luke Howick, Formula Karim, Crazy making the pass then on yours sincerely. These are where the drivers want these places, and Duncan's not giving up his eyes of grandeur, trying to go to the inside, but Gwat going to the outside. Well, I tell you what, he's got that one sorted, covers back on the inside, and watch the outs and ins and outs again of the arena.
He is starting to really try and find a rhythm and try and find the opening gaps here to get past Gwatts. It's a really entertaining battle, but I'm sure this is going to continue all the way to that checkered flag. Duncan did have his attempts, so he kind of knows what to do about Gwatts. He's just going to keep on studying him here and just see if he can maybe just find that way. Where is his weaknesses? Where is his strengths? Get him driving in the mirrors. That's really what you got to do in single seaters. Get these drivers looking in the mirrors. They'll start focusing on those mirrors of where you are, and then they'll find themselves having to go on the defensive. There is Kryzik there, sitting in 6th place. He's on the back of Blackmere, but look at Formula Karim. He's made his way up to 4th there and attacking 3rd place of Luke Howick. Could we be seeing Formula Karim here go from pretty much the back of the grid all the way up to a podium spot? It would be quite the mythical run here to maybe challenge the top 2, but I think with the 5 seconds they've got in hand, then it will be very difficult to do so. But Karim has shown some great pace over the course of this first 9 laps. He still has another few to go here before he can then reach that checker flag and grab those bag of points, but he's got to keep on the black stuff first.
Well, that's the main priority here with 2.5 laps to go. This is where you get to the all-important stage now, where everybody is trying to get a little bit more out of it. And once more, Duncan goes to the point here, gets it sorted, using his way to shift down through. And I love the fact that you get the little spit of flame coming out of the back of the exhaust, which sits in the middle of these F2 machines, using that high wing to generate as much downforce as possible. A really radical, different design of these F2s compared to a year ago. But Duncan is doing what he can. But Gwatts is going to play this long game. He knows he doesn't need to lead right now, so to speak. He needs to lead final corner, lap 11.
He does. He needs to just sit there on the rear of that car in front, and just make that move, I think, down towards turn number 12. But I think there'll be a real fight in that stadium section. As you said, we've seen it time and time again. And we'll just switch back to this battle for now, because Gwatts is having a look at the inside and just going to sneak him into the back here. He's just going to say there, mistake there from Duncan. Oh, that's going to open the door drastically. And through goes Gwatts in this case. But again, the battle is still not over. It's not like he's given up a whole second and more. Duncan has only dropped there to 3 to 4 4 tenths back. So still within chase here, and still just trying to hunt down. But I wonder, the more they battle, if they decide to battle, will Karim be able to latch on here? Because he's now made that a 4-second gap, as Howick just going to try and grapple onto him and just try and carry his way through, and potentially try and take a top 5 finish here with his penalty coming his way. They'll head their way through 11 on toward that back straight, and I sense an overtake here, Jake, but who will it be for?
Well, you can see Luke Howick trying to move across. DRS flat will open now as he tries to chase down that half a second on this roller coaster section, hoping there's an angle to the inside. Is there going to be from Luke Howick? He backs out of it, thinking there's a better opportunity later on in this race, and he knows there is only one opportunity at turn 12 left. The best place to get a move. The other great place is turn 1. So it's about hold on for this next section. Formula Karim is dragging this group up to the leaders. They've closed a second down in that last lap, and it's just about holding on to that pure pace, Adam. That's all they're trying to do at this stage, with Karim finding everything he wants.
He really, really is. He's really doing all that he can to just try and hold on to that position. But he's just going to carry on now here. And there is the battle onto the last lap here. Duncan goes to the left hand. Sorry, that's going to the left hand side. And he's now going to try a little bit cheeky here. But they head their way into towards turn number 1. I wonder if there's going to be any mind games being played, or if it's going to be flat out racing to the end. And it looks like he's going to be flat out racing. Now Duncan is just going to hold his position here, heading through the sweepers, through the left, through the right, through the left, and through the right. Once again, the long right-hander, it just goes and goes before flicking it back to the left-hand side. You can very easily lose the rear through there, and at this moment in time, they're both just holding on to their Mecha Chrome Formula 2 cars. Now, down the hill they go, and on towards that DRS zone. Duncan smells blood, and he is really now sensing the lead is going to come to him. Maximum points is on his way, but can he get the move?
Well, that's what he wants, and Duncan is just sat poised. Can he get this pass? It's a little feign of a defence here from Gwatz. How far does he want to push him? Answers all the way, and now rushing back through. Duncan has swept around the outside. Gwatz throws it back down on the inside line, but he doesn't get the drive he wants, and Karim now only at 1.1 second away. They can't afford to play too many more games in through the arena section. Duncan now just has to try and hold in his final section. Aggressive line from Gwatz, who realises there is still a chance, but it will be the final corner that he's going to have to try and hold his nerve. Duncan, who has been right up there at the front, has been proving what he's all about, proving that he needs to find a little bit of pace, and this is a big, big result with one corner to go. Throw it in, Gwatz, as close as you like, but he's not going to get the drive, because it is going to be Duncan who will take it in the sprint.
Oh, awesome racing there for the first race of tonight, and there's been some amazing stuff there, but Karim will take that 3rd place and some much needed championship points for him. Kreisig will finish at 4th, with Luke Howard getting a top 5 finish. Blackmere, yours sincerely, Adam Sanderson, despite all of the contact, despite all the spins and the action that he's got involved in, being in that mid-pack, comes away with a singular point ahead of the 2 Invictus to round out the top 10. But some really, really good racing to get us kick-started tonight in the F2 Creator Series. And I really, really enjoyed that one. And I'm sure we're going to be having a lot more. But first off, we do have that one-shot qualifying, which we'll be getting into in a couple of moments' time. Of course, we will have a little bit of a chat in the midst time, and just kind of a bit of a discussion of what we thought about that race and what we think about the next upcoming couple of one-shot qualifying and the feature race. Of course, many opportunities to get more points there. But Jake, that was so entertaining. They've really had to fight for every tooth and nail for that one.
Well, this is what we like to see. Great racing, and you'd argue an extra lap, and it would be there for Karim. So That was going to be always important, trying to find an angle, trying to find an opportunity, and the results being rather important. Duncan from Gwatz and Formula Karen with Crazy, Luke Howick there, Blackmere, yours sincerely, Adam Sanderson, your top 8 who will be scoring points. We will get a chance to talk to one of our drivers who's been out there, which is F1 Alex, who is here right now. Now, Alex, a day for you that as you sit down and look at in the sprint, that was always going to be difficult with the way that they battled at the beginning. It was a pretty much a war zone for you back there over the opening 5.
You could say that. You could say that. We actually kept it out of trouble, which in sprint races is quite surprising for me, but that was so much fun. I mean, there was so much carnage. It was just a case of like getting in and out and in and out. I was overtaken, then I was being overtaken. That was incredible.
You found yourself a way through, though, managed to gain a few of those places, but talk us through the second half of your race. It certainly kicked on in front, but for you, the middle of the pack, it seemed like everywhere there was always someone who was going to try and get in front, someone who was going to drop behind, as we traditionally see in this sort of racing that we've got going on. Do you feel like the early stage of the race maybe hampered you the opportunity to score a cheeky little point or two?
Yeah, I kept. I just tried to stick with the kind of the back end of the point scorers, and it just got away. I just left it too late. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get up near a podium, for example. But yeah, every time I went for an overtake, I got the overtake, and then 3 corners later, found myself being re-overtaken again. So I don't know if that was my setup. I think it was my setup, but I had good straight line speed, but I was not too good in sector 1 or sector 3.
Well, sectors 1 and 3 may be points of concern. How do you think you're going to mitigate that then when it comes to your hot shot qualifying lap?
Up the front wing, because that's all I can touch. I'm going to put a little bit on the front. The car felt really stable though, really stable. Just through certain corners, the car just wouldn't turn. So yeah, I think we'll go with a couple of clicks on the front, leave the rear, so we keep the straight line speed. Hopefully we get rotation, not over rotation. And yeah, we'll go from there. We'll see what happens.
Well, we certainly will, and we hope to see you flying forward with your qualifying lap coming up. F1 Alex there with us getting a 10th place in the sprint race moving forward. But Adam, sprint race is one thing. A feature race is another. We will increase the laps. We will add the need for a pit stop. But on top of that, these drivers have to qualify for their position. We saw how the back-to-front style qualifying that we had out there really proved to be a huge difference maker out there in terms of who could build a gap early and run away, which goes to show that when you put the fast guys at the front, it's going to be a case when you look behind at everyone else trying to play catch-up, they can't afford too much side-by-side because they know they need to stay in range.
It is going to be a very, very difficult one. We have already kind of seen that, I hate to use this kind of word, but war zone in that mid-pack, and that's kind of where you want to be staying out from. And I think there will be a bit of a reset to the minds of these drivers. They'll think, right, I've got a race to kind of go long on. I've got a pit stop to make. I want some points, and I've just got to stay out of everybody's way. But if I need to make an overtake, I've got to make it cleanly. So it is going to be very, very challenging in that sense. But I feel like that a lot of drivers are just going to just kind of reset their mind to think logically about the job at hand, which is to get those points. And also kind of the decision making will very much start at the beginning of the race. Whatever tires you get set on, I think that's where your race will go. If you want to go short on the soft tires, you definitely have the opportunity to do that, and then either you can go long and maybe make that pit stop last, but there's also the instance of an increase in the safety car. That has been I think that's one of the settings we have on for F2 Creator Series, just to add a little bit of spice to the action. So expect a safety car, very much so. So if I was going to be one of those drivers in my sim rig right now, I think the soft tires would definitely be the way to go. I think there will be a little bit of carnage, just burn through the just nicely burn through the soft tires at a good kind of length, and then potentially have a safety car around the mid to later part of my first stint, and then go on to those longer harder tires, go long hopefully to the end of the race. But of course so many drivers have their kind of strengths and weaknesses, and of course tires might come into that. Sometimes it might be the circuit. There's so many strengths and weaknesses into a spec series, and it's really just down to the drivers to be able to handle what cars they've been given.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when you get the sense of you've got to handle what's given to you, these drivers know when they tackle an F2 season like this that it's not necessarily going to be as easy as 1, 2, and 3. Yes, they've had the game now for 4 or 5 months, so they've had an opportunity to look at it and say, this is what I'm capable of doing. This is where I can now sit to a level and say, you know what, I'm quite happy with what I'm able to generate out of my overall pace. But the real, I would say, understanding of what makes a great driver is these mystery races that they hit into, the ones where they don't know, we don't know what track we're going to, and having that ability to adapt on the fly and know that you turn up and you've got to give your best, because no amount of preparation has you ready for the race.
Yeah, it really, really does. And we wanted to implement this into this season of Creator Series just to kind of add a little bit of spiciness to the race. I think it's done that. A lot of drivers have gone into the race and thinking, well, I don't know how this race is going to go. They've been given all they've been given is a big question mark. And they've just got to try and unravel the present and unravel the gift, and just try and make whatever they've been given. So that is kind of the way it's really been gone in these last kind of 3 rounds, now 4th round, as we're about to finish our sprint race, our feature race, my apologies. But yeah, it's really been amazing to see the drivers adapt to the circuits, to their wild cards, to the circuits, to the brand new cars, of course, because some drivers have noticed there have been a couple of physics changes, and the way you drive these cars are a little bit different compared to, well, now the old spec. So it's been definitely one to really try and really challenge, especially going into a whole new championship with these F2 cars. And I really think that it has been a big positive for the Creator Series.
I think it has as well, and I think we're going to be seeing that when hot shot qualifying comes into play. You've got one qualifying lap. You cannot go outside of the bounds of the circuit over that lap, or you start from the back. It is the most pressure situation out there, and it's very early to mid 2000s in its philosophy, where it used to be that you do one lap and then another driver goes around and does one lap and another driver goes around and does one lap. So you get this qualifying format down pat, and you can get this one-shot qualifying sorted. You're up there. This is the ultimate test of how quick are you, because the stopwatch at the end of the day never lies.
It really doesn't. And some drivers they're very strong in qualifying, but maybe a race pace it might be completely different. So I'm sure there's been plenty of drivers that you and I have both covered where they've just had incredible race pace on one side, or it's the other way, and they've got incredible qualifying pace, and they all have those kind of strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes it can be improved, but you'll never kind of find that perfect duo, I would say, of amazing racecraft, amazing race pace, and amazing qualifying pace as well. So that's going to be that's a really good challenge. But I like that. I like having drivers that struggle with one thing but excel in the other thing. But yeah, I think we're going to be going into qualifying very soon, and this is an absolute roller coaster of a lap here, Jake. It is one of those circuits that was first introduced into 2012 and has been a real fan favorite. It's been in the top 10 in terms of Formula 1 circuits on the current calendar, and it's never one to miss.
No, it certainly isn't. It definitely offers quite a bit of different variety on how a circuit goes, and it's been quite Marmite-ish in the way that it's designed. Some people absolutely love this circuit, some people absolutely hate this circuit. It's a case of there is some in between with it. I like to sit middle of the road on this circuit and say, you know what, I can't get too much, I would say, unhappiness out of this track, but sometimes it is a track that does have that element of feeling a little bit too wide at times, a little bit too concretey, and as such sometimes feels a little bit artificial out there. But there is still wonders around this track. But let's get ourselves sorted in, because we're going to have one-shot qualifying. The left-hand side of your screen will show who is fastest. Up on the left-hand side, we go on board with Duncan for this lap, then climbing up the top of the hill into Big Red, getting that left-hander sorted, descending back down from one of the higher points of the circuit, and now running along here, the S's section just outside of Austin, Texas, heading, of course, towards Texas A&M, because we're almost at Bowling Green. Through the S's still once more, and it continues on for an age of eternity here, looking to unlock up over the top of the hill, turn 9. Now you have the ability to say, first sector's done and dusted and in the books. Taking a nice turn there through turn 10, and this is a big braking zone at 11. This sets up your entire middle sector.
It really, really does. And of course, a little bit of a missed apex there at 11, but he can just try and get the best run he possibly can all the way down towards turn number 12. He's been absolutely blinded by the sun there. That is starting to set here at the Circuit of the Americas. Look to the right-hand side, break at the 100-meter board, get the car turned in. Nice apex there. And now you just got to be nice on the throttle, carry the car through. And it's all about momentum here and all about kind of the way the car is positioned. It's a long right sweeper into the left, double apex here. You got to really tip the car in, really get the car rotated by any means, and then through the beautiful triple right hander, using it full speed here, bringing it back to the right hand side. A little bit of apex there of the rumble strip, I should say, and then carrying the car through turn number 20, the final corner on the circuit. Bit of a rear loss there for Duncan, and across the line, Formula Karim goes fastest. Duncan can only go 12. But that was a really, really good lap, and that was really showing the incredible circuit that has had many, many inspirations and implements to it. That is the Austin, Texas Circuit of the Americas.
Well, Formula Karim's qualifying lap, I think, was something really special. He was down in third place, heading in with 2 corners to go, and he moved up to second through the penultimate, and he moved into the position of lead through the final corner and pulled a full 10th of a second. A simply wonderful time from the AIX racing car. The 2 Art Grand Prix will be second and third, and then Adam Sanderson, they're in 4th position. You look down towards the back of the field, and you really get the sense that there is work to be done. 1 disqualification in qualifying, 1 lap not set, but now they all start thinking about the race and how they want to strategize, when they want to come in and make those stops, Adam, and when they want to attack, and what tyre they want to start on.
It will be definitely interesting. We've already kind of discussed how the strategy can go. But of course, it's down to the driver to really decide. They'll may have a little bit of an idea. They may have kind of got an idea in terms of tire life, or maybe kind of how this circuit bites at them. But they already have that kind of idea, and they'll be thinking about that kind of run up towards turn number 1 for sure. They'll be really thinking about, how can I stay out of trouble? Where can I get the free spaces, and just kind of pickpocket that free space and be able to run with it. I think that'll be really important throughout that first lap. Just being in that clear air, being able to avoid everybody else, not getting caught up in any sorts of tangles whatsoever, just staying and running your own race.
Certainly, Crazy has been the one who's been trying to take the charge to Formula Karim here, as they now set over to their formation lap once again. Another lap around the long circuit of the Americas to get as much as they can sorted around here, and tyre temperatures up to where they need it. Blackmere and Duncan already disqualified then from their formation lap efforts and sit already onto the grid. And we talk about needing that tyre temperature and the importance important place to have it is at the start of the race, because that's where you're going to need that heat to go through the gears and to effectively get that traction and contact patch on the track. If you don't have that, it's going to take a little bit longer. You're more likely to get more wheel spin, and you're more likely to drop back because you need a finer rev limit range to get what you need.
It will be interesting in terms of tires. I think that's going to be the main kind of talking point, especially when we get into the mid stage of this race. I do think that tires will be very much the talking point, but also, like we've been saying, just staying out of trouble. I do think there's going to be some really good results in here. I see F1 Scott up there in 5th place. He was really looking for a good result. He's also somebody that's taken the grapple of the F2 cars and really tried to work with it. It's taken a while, but he's slowly getting faster every single time he gets into a race, and he's always learning, which I like about the Scotsman. But of course, he's got the man from Derbyshire behind him, who we just spoke to, F1 Alex. So those tweaks he seemed to have spoke about in our little interview has really started to potentially work. I think he found himself about 4, maybe 6 tenths back at the end of qualifying, but he's put himself in a really good position. The 3rd row of the grid is not a bad place to be, and he is obviously going to try and attack those places, but he's also going to have to really be aware of his whereabouts. I think Luke Howick also has a good opportunity to put himself in the top 5 once again if he can avoid a penalty, maybe even the podium positions. But now we're starting to really see the drivers rolling into their grid position. Formula Karim is already lined up. The 2 ART Grand Prix cars of Arsenal and Kryzik, we're looking to challenge him up towards turn number 1, right ahead of you.
Well, they look around and say, well, who's been the big fishes in this series? F1 Alex has the most points in this championship by over 150 over the likes of Adam Sanderson, Dark Viper GT, who's not here, and Hayden Gullis, who, of course, is not here either. You got Gwatz, who is 5th best on that, and then Cryzy 6th best, and they fire themselves behind in that regard. Formula Karim up at the front of this field, your championship leader with 16 laps to try and prove what he's all about. Now sits and tries to get what he wants, but there they now launch and get themselves off and going. It looked incredibly quick by Arsenault off at the start and absolutely slew his way forward. Adam Sanderson got a great start as well, and I wonder if he jumped. Oh, huge contact there in the back. They're all going around there. The likes, of course, of Zach RC, Formula Kai, Chesnoy Gaming caught in there. So too is yours sincerely on the opening lap of this race. It always gets difficult when you try and condense them down into turn 2, and there was the contact that brought themselves into play. Formula Karim, the cold tyres off the start has cost him 2 places, and now Cryzy wants his way through.
Absolutely, the number 1 ART livery caped car is really looking for a move, and he's already gone for it, looking like up the inside there at turn 3. We continue to look in the mid-pack. You're already starting to see it's a little bit more calmed for now, but wait until we get onto that back straight. There goes Cryzy. He's blasting past Formula Karim now. They still run side by side, but who's going to be later on the brakes? I can't see Karim being able to fight this one around the outside, but there you go. Oh, with the apex corner, there goes Cryzik's now up into 3rd place. I think Tess Will is also going to try and challenge him in the Rodin Motorsport car. Now we see F1 Alex trying to fight back from his earlier misdemeanors. He is fighting Hoodie Pete, so 2 fellow F05 esports racers, very well known to each other, and they've always they go along very well, but they're having a big old battle on the main stage of F2 Creator Series, and that was won by Hoodie Pete in the MP Motorsport. Good one to take in that one, but they carried their way through on towards that last corner and start lap 2 with Arsenault leading the race in the ART, but Sanderson is still following in behind.
Well, this is where you now get the early stages. Formula Kai in the pits, B-Roy in the pits, George in the pits as well. They've all struggled. And now for the race lead, Arsenault versus Adam Sanderson. It's Sanderson around the outside, and they might just dance too wide through the S's. Very shallow by Arsenault. Sanderson trying to find a way through, pushed out wide. Goes Arsenault once again. Sanderson now to the inside. Gets what he wants. Cryzy now finds himself in 3rd. And Formula Karim down into 4th. Test Will and F1 Scott are 5th and 6th positions. And all of a sudden, it is going to to be Sanderson the front, and now trying to build his margin at the front. This is an aggressive group, and Test Will trying to find himself a way through, but as you take a look, it's carnage behind after Test Will's contact there with Formula Karen diving deep, because all of a sudden Gwat moves up into fourth, and the top three have broken away.
Absolutely, Arsenault is now looking around the outside. That's a very, very brave move to go with. And now Kreis is going to have a look on the inside here. Your teammates, guys, please just stay out of each other's way. And that's exactly what they've done. Arsenault just staying there for now. Test Will there in the Ritomo Miata Toyota Gazoo Racing livery for the Rodin Motorsport team is just trying to carry his way through. Formula Karen separating the two Rodin Motorsport cars. They fly their way through the triple right-hander and just carrying all the speed they possibly can. F1 Scott now ahead of Formula Karen, but is that going to continue into war turn 19? It looks like the green and black Kick Sauber livery car is ahead, and yes, I did say Kick Sauber livery because Zay Maloney, who drives that car in real life, is part of the Sauber Academy, so will carry that livery all season long. Well, not anymore, because of course he's gone off to Formula E, but away from the real life facts here. This is a really, really nice battling, and it's not quite the war zone we saw in the first race, but there's still some really, really nice overtakes being inputted, and still the same aggression as we've been seeing all throughout the first sprint race.
I'd love to see the tyres and see what every driver has chosen out there through the early goings, because I think it will be a point of contention out there. A lot of softs and mediums. So Gwat's the earliest driver on the mediums, currently in fourth position, will feel very happy. Formula Karen starting on the mediums as well. Also finding troubles. 1 and 2 take each other out in drama like that. And Crazy now gets given an ultimate gift as everyone has to try and scramble around the likes of Adam Sanderson and Arsenault together. That could have been disaster of the highest caliber at that section of track, and somehow it has not ended in total disaster, but now it might do at turn 12, because there was a little look. Look, Howick's in there, and trouble for, I think, both of the cars there from Invicta. F1 Alex and Ricky 03, Rule 1.
Oh, absolutely. Both Invicta cars, the team from Norfolk in the UK, they were getting together, and my goodness me, both of them just surviving out. But going back to that instant between Arsenault and Sanderson, but me, just before I get to that, these are the two MP Motorsport and ART cars. There's both in the Williams Kate livery. They're having a bit of a ding dong, but yeah, I think Arsenault was just aware that his teammate was behind him. He wanted to, he just wanted to be last of the late breakers, just to avoid a potential move from Kreisig, but in doing so, just slammed into the side of Adam Sanderson, and unfortunately took him half out of the running. He's still there in P6 in his beautiful red and white Prema, but Sanderson will be very, very disgruntled by that one.
He certainly will. And it has been that sort of season here for Adam Sanderson, who's been pretty much on the cusp, but never truly getting that launch to go over the top to what I think he can do in terms of his pace. He's now down in 6th place and staring down F1 Scott just in front, who of course had the torrid sprint race and is looking at everything he can to recover a few points to try and give what he can out there over the course of this race. There's a car miles off the road. I think it's B-Roy down there at the turn 12 section, which will put the yellow flags out, which will mean that overtaking, I don't think is going to be the easiest thing in the world to do there, as they now look to try and drive through and take what they can. He's going to be slowly making his way back out onto circuit. Nice to see you, B-Roy. That's one way to let the traffic through.
Yeah, he was just having a bit of a leisurely stroll, I think, was that high-tech bed. Ricky now having a look at his teammate. This is going to be pretty close. It's the 9 ahead of the number 10 there. It's F1 Alex ahead of Ricky 03, and I wonder if Ricky is going to go for a clean move here, because I think it has to be clean. They're both in the points here, and there goes B-Roy out of the session with tires and safety car. That's been deployed here, and I
Oh,
wonder now. Oh, this is going to be interesting because the soft tires can now come into the pits, but only for the ones behind. So this is going to be mighty interesting. I don't know if anyone's going to really lose anything here. Zach RC is going to come into the pit lane here. Oh, I thought he was going to go into the side of the pit wall there, the kind of intersection there. But yeah, he was very smart in that one. He got to the scene of the accident there very quickly, and interesting.
I think he's just hit something there that says, no, you're going to have to stay back out. So that is very weird what we've just seen from Zach RC.
It's on the pit
There's he's
limiter.
now gone back into the pit. So I think he's finding his way through, and now he'll find his way back out again. So I think he's had his stop, and I think he's okay. Let's find out if he's worked out how to time travel here in your F2 creator series, because that was very weird out there. But the issue that I find with that, and this caution that's come out, and what I don't really like, but I think is going to be part and parcel of this series going forward, I think that was a deliberate safety car ploy by B. Roy. Realised his race was over, pulled himself back by a lap. Let's have a laugh, throw it in the wall, and see what we can get from it. He gets a safety car. He completely brings the field back in again and gives a few drivers some chances that they wouldn't have had otherwise. Lap 5 of 16, and I would say this is an awkward space in the race for the likes of Crazy. I would say it's the perfect time to jump in, move on to the yellow walled harder tyres, or the mediums as they'll be running here around this circuit. And yes, you'll lose the track position, but you get the free stop out of the way, which those who started on the mediums, I don't think can do as well.
Yeah, it was really going to be interesting in terms of this one, but this has happened before here, Jake, when we did have Drive retiring because of, especially back in season 1, we had Drive retiring and forcing a safety car. It has happened in the early days and it had to be stopped. So I think it's kind of limited in a way, but I think that will be definitely having to be looked into. But here we go. Cryzix is coming into the pit lane here on his soft compound tire. He's going to be followed by so many other drivers.
Everyone.
And I just pretty much everyone, you've got to kind of follow the herd here. We've not quite got the pit graphic that usually comes up here. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a few glitches here, so just kind of we're going to gloss over that one as well. But neat pit stop there from the ART team. On the screen they're doing another one, it seems like, but yeah, this is kind of the features we get on the F1 game. But of course we'll just have to gloss over it for now.
Well, this is what we call a pit stop at this moment in time. It is one of the pit stops of time as we focus on Crazy and those who are in the pits and those who are out and who are back out and away again. Looks like the likes of Luke Howick has found himself into a position, and right now with F1 Alex behind him and Duncan, I'm pretty sure everyone will now look to try and maybe cycle themselves back into a position. This is a very awkward bit of time scale movement as they've got out there at this point. But when you do come in and make that stop, the key was everyone decided to come in and make a stop. And the reason why it was everyone who needed to make that stop, I think it was a very, very important call to make, that even those who are on the medium or what are the harder brand of tyres moved on to a softer brand to try and attack the final stages of the race, knowing that they're just going to have to hold on to that tyre life as they go. It currently says that we got 4 drivers in the pits, but they're still out there circulating on track in a position. So this is a little bit awkward out there, but the safety car will continue. Luke Howick is currently at the front of this group as things stand.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something we can confirm, but despite that kind of very, very glitchy graphic. But he's also got F1 Alex in behind, but we did just have a brief look at some of the drivers that have come into the pit. Some are currently on 5-lap old soft tyres, some are on 5-lap old mediums. And it really is that soft tire prime time. If you do want to make it to the end of one tire, it is going to be that soft compound tire. That soft tire can get to the end. You've just got to make sure that you both sets of compounds of tires That's kind of the tricky thing here. But yes, if you do go onto the soft tires now, any fresh soft tires, then you will be able to get to the end. Of course, they're not going to be using that amount of that much life in the tires at this moment in time under safety car. But at this moment in time, they are just going to yeah, they're just going to save up those tires and be able to go for a dash at the end. But I hope this is a little bit of a glitch. But F1 Alex has moved ahead of Luke Howard. I'm just going to stick to that down as a glitch. As F1 Scott now gets disqualified, unfortunately there. So double DNF there for the Scotsman, and oh, we have somebody signing off into the gravel trap.
Oh, I think they're abandoning. I think they might be abandoning here, and you can see migrating hosts. So this is going to be interesting. So this is effectively a red flag situation out there. So at lap 6 with the safety car coming into play and drivers in the pits unable to get what they want, we are going to red flag this server, get a brand new server up, and I would only assume here, Adam, get 9 laps worth of racing, 9 or 10 laps worth of racing, and say 1 pit stop's in the book. Everybody who was in made a stop goes out on tires. This is going to be a really interesting situation on how to do this in a way that is the most fair.
It is. It is going to be very, very much of a head scratcher for pretty much the entire lobby. But they will be able to have screenshots. I'm sure they'll be able to go through our YouTube stream and be able to kind of like get a point of where everyone is, and then be able to kind of get a grid formed up. But yeah, we will be able to pretty much go racing, and it will feel like a sprint. We will pretty much go back to a sprint format in a way with no pit stops. We will have a single set of soft tire being able to go all the way to the end, and I think we're just going to be seeing an absolute chaos fest because there's 9, well, how many laps they're given. We're just going to be seeing that many laps on the board with 1 tire to go all the way to the end, and it's going to be an absolute free-for-all with everyone being completely bunched up on a 21 car grid. My goodness, we are in for an absolute thrilling piece of racing, and also a lot of content is going to be able to be made of this, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing plenty of clips flying about on the socials that you can see above us here on YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So be able to make sure to follow us after this stream, and really do give us a big old shout out. That would be kindly appreciated.
Yeah, that's something that we will keep in mind. Of course, always follow us on our socials. You'll keep up to date with everything that's going on that is Creator Series bound. But with the desync here that has come along, and that is the issue that you've got. So basically, you've got 22 different versions of F1 2024 or F1 24 in play at the same time. If someone's got something slightly different to someone else and that creates a desync, then that creates a desync over with everyone, and as such these drivers are going to have to re-rack the lobby and go for it once again. And this is where it puts, I think, quite an interesting perspective onto it, because this is effectively a red flag here in this race. They will have to set themselves back up, but the interesting port of call is going to be this here, Adam. They are going to be sat looking, and I would say they've probably got about 9 laps of this race that they're going to be looking at here and trying to complete. I think that's the fairest way that they're going to have to do it. But you also get the sense of, well, what will this do for the strategy? Will they mandate the tyres that they have to change? And those drivers as well who stayed out and made that call to stay out are probably going to be those drivers who have got one of 2 options for them. Either they get put in front and gain the most out of everyone because they effectively put themselves in the right position, or are they going to be put at the back because they would have needed to have made a stop, and effectively that puts them in a case where they now don't need to make a stop because of not needing to make that mandatory pit stop because of the way that the server's played out. There's a lot of ums and ahs about it, but how would you best place them, and at what point would you mark the field as this is the field that we're going to use for the grid?
I think it will be, well, it's a very, very difficult one to put here, Jake, because you need to keep this going in the fairest way, and I think that when everyone has made their stops is the way to go. So I'd say that when we saw all those stops kind of well, we didn't see everyone make a pit stop, so I think it may have to go back to back to the way it started. So I think it will have to be from when we first saw that pit stop from, I think it was Kryzik's when he first came into the pits. I think that's the way to really go. Yeah, it may have affected some of the guys at the back, but of course there won't be many positional changes in that one. So I think it will be definitely very interesting to see where they go from and kind of where everyone lines up, because we don't want to be a championship contender and feel completely screwed over. But what I can assure you is that the guys setting up the lobby will be doing the best they possibly can.
They certainly will, and it is a second lease of life for some drivers here to go out there and really attack this portion of the race. You look at those who are maybe a little bit further down the order, like F1 Alex, for example, who wasn't quite where he wanted to be. Adam Sanderson had a moment out on track which put him in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Chesnoy Gaming's really not had much of a race to speak of with his 8th place in the championship currently. So when you are sitting around and thinking, well, what do you have to do to get back in it? For some drivers, they'll see this as a boon. For other drivers, they'll think, oh, you know, yeah, I'm not going to get my tea time for another 25, 30 minutes. You know, I'm not going to be able to go and say goodnight to those who I need to say goodnight to now. It's a case of this is an unscheduled stop in terms of this race, and they have got to find a way to keep the concentration and adrenaline levels up, because one lapse in concentration, which they've got right now, and they've got to re-engage, and this is a longer re-engage than what they traditionally have off of a red flag here in F1 24.
It's going to be a little bit of a waiting game, and of course the adrenaline is going to die down just that little bit, and it will be very difficult to refocus. Have kind of had that. I've had to cover a scenario similar to that in real life at Donington Park, and the drivers really do kind of turn off. Even if it was club racing, the drivers really do kind of switch off. But when the helmet is still on, there is still that kind of sense of I'm still needing to get in the zone. But I'm really just thinking that for the moment in time, they will have to just keep in their rigs, maybe get themselves refreshed, maybe get themselves filled up with a little bit of water as well. I think that would be nice to get a little bit of get a bit of fluid going through them. But of course, the main difficult thing will be kind of the focusing up, because it is very important for a driver, and especially being in that mid-pack, you've really got to be switched on. We saw that in the earlier sprints. So if we do see a repeat of that, I definitely think it'll be important to make sure that we are all readied up. And I think that it'll be really important to make sure these drivers are focused up, because the last thing we need is absolute pandemonium and debris flying everywhere.
No, that is very much the case. It's nice to know that the drivers are here, having a little bit of fun here with us as well, watching, of course, in the Twitch chat that we've got going on. We're also live, of course, on YouTube as well. So if you're out there on YouTube, I see you, Ed. We're going to try and get things sorted as quickly as we can and get ourselves back out to racing once more. So I'm getting word at the moment. It looks like we're going to be running 11 laps worth of racing at this point in time. So that will be 11 laps that they'll put on the counter, which I think puts them to a position here, Adam, where it was just before the safety car got called, and effectively stack the field how you want to. I think everyone's going to be out there on the same tyres, trying to go and make it happen as if a pit stop has happened, and we're going to go back out there racing again. I think that's going to be the way that we sit here with this one. Not too sure, but what I'm hearing on the waiver wire, so to speak, is we will have 11 laps worth of racing.
Yeah, that seems like it's going to be the case, and I think that's completely fair. We were kind of roughly at that stage before throwing the flag, before kind of the desyncing happened. So I definitely think that's the right way to go. So it's going to be pretty much Sprint 2.0, but we can, of course, label that in the graphics as the sprint. Sorry, at the feature. My apologies. But overall, I think that we are really in for something very, very interesting. I think the next thing we're going to be hearing is definitely going to be the grid, and I think that's going to be definitely something we have to run down very, very quickly and just kind of analyze where is the potential for everyone, because some drivers are going to be looking very, very strong, and I think some drivers will really try and make the most of their possible positions.
Well, it's all about positioning and finding that. Of course, we do appreciate your patience here, ladies and gentlemen, here with us on this unscheduled red flag delay for desync here in F1 24 at round 4 of your championship at the Circuit of the Americas. Now, this is the quarter, or sorry, I would say third way stage of the season. They will look as well to what's coming up next, and it's not too far of a jump away for them. It is very much an America's flair they've got coming next, because it will be the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, of course, that being Mexico, which will be coming up next as round 5, Adam. So when you sit down and say, you know what, this is what's coming up next, what can we expect? This has pretty much be a tough challenge, but it's the perfect, I would say, gateway to what they need to do for next week's racing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Of course, I really, really like the way that Mexico is laid out. I think it's a really, really interesting.
Ooh, I think we've just lost Adam here, so that's a little bit problematic. So we'll try and get him back as quickly as possible, but we are pretty much looking to get into server at this point and get ourselves ready and racing out there here and get as much as we can going forward. We'll try and bring back Adam Reed at this moment in time. It seems like he has been yanked into the void at this moment in time, and there is nothing we can do about that. They will get another formation lap because we love those. Let's have 3 of them. Why not? B-Roy will be down at the back of the field, no surprises. So Crazy will be on the front with Gwatz, Formula Karim, Test Will, F1 Scott, and Adam Sanderson, your front 6. Now, I want to get an eye on tyres here to see how they've all gone about this and what they've all decided to do. It looks like they have all gone to the tyres that they were on initially before they came in for that stop. So this is going to put a really awkward position on right now because the strategy game completely changes. Few on mediums, few on softs, looking for a chance to make something happen in these last 11 laps worth of racing. Effectively, it's another sprint.
Effectively is, Jake, and I really do think, like we said, we're really in for a really, really good last 11 laps. I think Krysik's got a really, really good, strong pace on him. Gwatz is also there in second as well. He's got good potential in Formula Karim as well. Sanson will be looking to fight back there from P6. He'll be very much still fired up.
He'll certainly be hoping that he'll be as fired up as possible here in this phase of the race, knowing that we are just 11 laps away, looking to gear it up again, having to get back into that headspace of I'm driving and I'm trying to throw what I can at the wall. Crazy, of course, was not on pole position at the start of this race. It was, of course, Formula Karim, who was there up at the start of the race on pole, but his cold tyres dropped him a couple places. I think he's taking this formation lap a little bit more seriously this time around because he knows how important he goes at this stage at the start. So this is where you now start saying, right, next is this. There is not much more that he can do except get a good launch on the start. this is where magic needs to happen, and you get these drivers now are situating themselves, looking for their grid slots, realizing that they've got to line it up with that yellow line on the right-hand side. They'll get a little bit of help, of course, to where their grid stall is, and they will have to get it slowed down. Now, Bushy Ant is going to get a DSQ from the formation lap. So not only will he be set in an unideal position further back, he will now look to try and get himself into a position. Keep your eyes peeled on this launch, because now with 11 laps to figure this out, this is where you need to go. We go on board with Test Will on the restart, and we're back to racing here in this F2 run. Adam Sanderson with another flyer of a launch. Crazy gets the start he wants. Down the inside, Sanderson is already up into P3. Karim drops one into 4th position. Test Will and F1 Scott side by side now as they run to the S's, but perfect for Crazy at the front of the field. Got exactly what he wanted.
He absolutely did, and he's really running it well there. Sanderson got off to a blistering start, really tried to find his way through. They head their way up the hill towards the right and in towards the left. Over the crest they go and in towards 11. Where is that first overtaking opportunity? They head their way through single file. Look at Formula Karim. He's going to look for an opportunity. Test Will up the inside as well. He's going to bully his way on through and just try and send the AIX racing car and shovel him out to the side of the road here. But what about Guats here feeling the pressure from Sanderson? There is absolute pandemonium going on so far. And they carry their speed all the way down towards turn number 12, 180 miles an hour before slamming on the brakes, and there goes the Prema and the Trident car, unfortunately going around there. I think that was Sanderson and Guats there making a bit of contact, but Sanderson is going to muscle his way back through on Test Will, not give this one up. He's got a race win inside, and he's really now got to try and just try and bridge that gap to Kreisig. But look at the field there, getting 2 by 2 by 2, unreal stuff.
A cluster of wheels at turn 12 brings the pack together. Crazy is 2.5 seconds clear the front of this field, and they are smiling. At this point, Sanderson in second, Test Will up to third, Guats now fourth, Luke Howick now finds himself in fifth ahead of Formula Karim going backwards, and F1 Scott now finding himself into P7. You look around, there's F1 Alex, the two F1 drivers. Well, what's one add one? It's two. They're battling in F2 as they now dive through turn 2 and over to the S's section again.
Well, they're really going at it here, but where do you make that move? I think it'll be down in towards turn 12. As I said, the hot spot for overtaking turn 1 and turn 2, said that at the start of the broadcast, and I think there's been plenty of maneuvers being made in both locations. Sometimes it's between turn 11 where the field are very much Constantina it up, and now we're starting to really be seeing a potential overtake here. Test Will have been really driving that car really well. He's been really performing in these in this USA race here, and with the DRS now not quite open. I thought it would be open by now. I think I'm thinking of the real life rules, but he's still gonna go for that move in the all black Toyota Gazoo Racing livery. Test will really just carry everything he possibly can, but still he's just going to sit there for now as Luke Howick is going to be put under pressure by Formula Karim. They head their way through the left-hander, and Howick really just trying to use every single piece of defensive driving he can in the handbook.
Yep, he's trying everything along this big triple right. There's dramas at the back. It looks like B-Roy again has been caught up in something, this time with George as well. So George now falls to the back of the field. Hoodie Pete takes a bit of time penalty as well, going with as we go on board with Guats. Now charging along this main straight here, lap 3 of 11, hoping for an angle up at the top of the hill, doesn't find it, and there is DRS enabled. There is Formula Karim down the inside. A bit of Mr. Muscle to try and get this through, but right now he knows he can't get rid of this at this point. Luke Howick taking a tap front to rear, and that's the move that puts Formula Karim back into play. Once he's up to speed, he's a dynamo. He can hardly be stopped.
He really is starting to really just build on this and build on this. He's doing superbly well to just hold position, and now he's got to just charge forward, see if he can overtake the next car as they head their way down towards turn number 11. But look at the lead that Kryzik's had. He's almost having a Sunday drive down Route 66. It must feel like in that ART Grand Prix car, but beat me all behind. It is really just grab any position you want, get that space, and go with it here to the outside. Go test Will, fights that on the outside. Will he have the grip? Will he have the tires to do so? Not quite, gets a little bit bullied out there, makes contact where the Trident in behind. Not sure if he saw if Wax was there, but also Karim is also just lurking in the background here. Potential maneuvers here. There you go. There goes Quats up the inside, almost going into the back of Sanderson. But my goodness me, we're in for an absolute thriller, and it's only lap 3.
Well, this is only lap 3 of 11 as they've gone through. They've put, of course, 5 laps in on the board initially as they did the opening stint of this race. So that's what they're setting at next. Luke Howick now in 6th position, seeing Formula Karam in front and Gwatson, Testwell and Adam Sanderson. That gap now 3 seconds to Kryzik this moment in time. And look at that gap along the straight. These drivers now getting that slipstream toe and using the drag reduction system, which will give them quite a bit along this straight to maneuver and gain what they can. This is now about management. If you're Adam Sanderson at the front of this group, you know how important it is. And so too for F1 Scott, because he's now at 1.4 seconds. He'll have F1 Alex and the recovering Arsenault to try and gain places back. And remember, Arsenault was up there, 2nd position in the hot shot qualifying. He's definitely got pace.
He really, really has, and I think that he's definitely one of those candidates for a top 3. He's really been pushing well in that car. I think he's just got to carry all the momentum, but look how much Sanderson is backing up this entire 5-pack of car. B-Roy retires, so unfortunately he causes a virtual safety car. That's just going to slow up the field. Not going to go full safety car, but he is retired on the exit there of turn number 2. So it's not going to be in favor of Sanderson, but maybe a little bit more in terms of Kryzik's here, in terms of being able to withstand his lead. But right now, if you're Sanderson, you get a little bit of a breather before having to go again.
Well, I think the whole world has had a collective sigh of relief that it's not a full safety car, it's just a virtual one out there, because everyone was scared of another desync coming into play from a B-Roy retirement. So hold your breath as George takes a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, and a whole host of drivers now sat with penalties, 5 of them to be precise at this stage. There's Bushaz, and there's the decision-making going on as they all jump in. Sanderson in with, of course, likes of Test Will, F1 Alex also into the pit. So I think they've decided that they've got to go and make the pit stops at the point they were going to make them, as if they weren't there. Yours sincerely is now out of the race, and pit's window, I think, has officially opened.
It looks like it has, so I think a really smart decision there from the moderators here at F2 and F1 Creator Series. But now you see Kryzik is really running out in his own. He's almost in no man's land at this race, and I'm hoping he's got the memo that he does need to make a pit stop. But of course, he's going to go a little bit longer here on those sets of soft tires. So I think Sanderson has done the right choice here, and he's gone with that. I can't catch Kryzik here. I've got to make an undercut, and I think that's the best way to go about this. So Kryzik's going to just try and go as long as he possibly can. Well, I think he's going to pit the next lap, to be honest. I forget what I said. Oh, that's going to be F1 Alex in the gravel trap. Oh, that's super unfortunate there. And I think he's just going to have to try and rejoin safely. Let T. George through. Super unfortunate there for the Invicta Racing driver.
Right down to the back of the field for F1 Alex then, jumping over the gravel and taking 3 seconds worth of time penalty. Zach RC's trying to go for a record for the most 3-second time penalties before disqualification. He's already on 9 seconds worth of them for overcutting around this track. Now, will Kryzik make the decision to dive left? It looks like it, and he will. So race leader has to come into the pits to cover off the moves out there. And at the end of this 5th lap of the restart, he will look to jump in and make that stop. Formula Karim, no surprises, stays out because remember, he's on a set of the medium compound tyres, which is the harder of the two out there here today, and he'll have to make that stop a little bit later on over the course of this race, you would feel.
Yeah, I think the medium tyres will definitely be the one to go on second for the second stint here. But it's kind of a brave run here for some of the drivers that are taking that. Here it goes, Sanderson to try and get past that left hand, that the MP Motorsport, I believe it is, and he indeed has swept on through. But there is Kryzik into seventh there, so going a lap longer just kind of shows that Kryzik has amazing race pace around this circuit when he is in free up.
Well, when he's got a bit of free space
on a charge here.
When he's got a bit of free space, you can definitely sense that he's on a rampage. He's got that pace which says, I can break away, I can build margins. I think he's got more comfort out there when he's at the front of this field. I think that's what he does better than anybody else, as it's getting busy with Test Will back there in the pack with Watson, Sanderson, and behind him, of course, you've got Ultra Killer and Luke Howick that he's dealing with for company. So this is a case of some drivers there and some drivers aren't, and F1 Alex finds a second virtual safety car as he retires.
Interesting on this one here, because it looks like Karim and Scott are right next to the pit lane here, so potentially could make their stops very soon.
Well, they're hoping... Well, they're hoping that that stop comes in the next couple of moments' time. That much we do know out there. So you are sitting now, and these drivers are holding. And if you can make that pit stop, and you can do it now at this stage of the race, you will gain a big advantage because it's a cheaper pit stop. You have a really big opportunity to say, you know what, I can gain a little bit by making that choice. Big launch left and over towards the pits, trying to gain that little bit of an advantage out there. Just trying to get an eye on who that was jumping into the pits. I think that was Ultra Killer who's decided to make that call under the virtual safety car. It was. So he's decided he's going to make that call. And he also has himself a little bit of issues out there as he jumps into the pits. So I'm not sure quite what's happened here. DRS has officially been enabled. I wonder if we've had another issue very much similar out there here around this circuit. So this is a worrying sign for the context of this race as they now look to launch and go back again. Green flag back running, lap 7 of 11.
They are really just trying to put themselves in a really good position for the points. We just continue here with the Red Bull Cape livery heading all the way down at the hill on towards 11. There is a good opportunity for overtaking as well. It will be the Dams up against the Red Bull. Luke Howick will really have to go on the defensive of the, I believe that's the Campos there in behind, and this is on the scapes of the top 10 here. So points are very much in the offering of this one to the left hand side, and will cleanly make that overtake unless there'll be able to be a fight back there from Howick. Howick on the inside line takes a really nice attacking in that one, and they will just find himself there on the outside, but covers off the Campos nicely. But up the inside, it's a strong move, very bold move, and that is a really good ballsy move. But it looks like Howick is just going to stick in front for this one. Superb batting between the two.
Yeah, they are really trying to throw what they can at each other here. This is for 9th and 10th places. And it's about this run now that becomes important. The drive as they go through, that is F1 Scott potentially is there. That's crazy making his way through. So that would be Formula Karim, sorry, who's down in the pits, has come back out again and will find himself in 3rd. So crazy now retakes the lead, and we got a spin there at the opening corner. Someone's going to go flying down the order. I think it's Bushy Ants who's there in trouble, and now it's having to do the Austin Powers to get it turned back around to go back forward again.
Oh, that's going to be very, very frustrating there with Bushianti. Had a great battle there with Howard earlier, but unfortunately just couldn't quite get the move, and now just finds himself right at the bottom. But we continue here with Formula Karen, who's looking to really try and pounce on Adam Sanderson. There is a good amount of points in the offering here, but he's also got to be careful of Guats here. So Sanderson will be very much looking in the mirrors. He'll be looking left and right and left and right, and see that AIX car on the left-hand side there, and we'll just have to let him by. He does not have the straight line speed to challenge him, especially with the DRS being enabled. I think Guats has also managed to slide on through as well. So Sanderson down 2 positions in his white and red Prema, but carrying on with Karen because he is doing a superb job. Next to tick off the list, that's going to be Kryzix in the ART.
Yeah, and so 1.6 seconds, fresher tyres to go out and work with, and they are, of course, the softer compound of the tyres. This is where Kryzix needed that gap, needed that ability to rush on away, and now you look back at Duncan, for example, who, of course, had that big result in the sprint. Sees what he needs in the feature, and he sees himself down in 13th in the middle of an almighty bit of battling here with Chesnoy Gaming and co. All around, hoping they can find their angles, and Blackmare's throwing it now down the inside, hoping for a run off the exit. Wide goes Duncan, but Duncan's got the slipstream.
Indeed, and he's really just having to try and make an unexpected overtake here. He just needs to latch onto the back there of Chesnoy first, but a mistake there, and through, in fact, goes his teammate Blackmare. So Blackmare taking his opportunities where he's given, and he doesn't need a second invitation in that one, despite his 3-second time penalty. He's still going to run with it, heading through the S section here on lap 9 of 11, and that is going to be a really, really nice sequence of corners, but Duncan just losing pace. It was a really
Wow. He now looks to
sprint
try
early
and
in
gain a bit more.
the qualifying, he was a little bit of a struggle, but overall
he can try and muscle back here with Blackmare and Chesnoy Gaming. Test Will hasn't found himself in the right place. He's got 3 seconds worth of time penalty. He's got to try and muscle back as he battles Luke Howick here for what is now going to be P6. So he's hoping for a bit more, and the change for the lead has just come into play because Formula Karim has absolutely brute forced his way through on Crazy, who has nothing to stop the championship leader here from taking control of this race. And Crazy was someone who needed that 3-second gap after the restart, and ultimately hasn't got what he was wanted after as they go through. Now there's yellows out there in sector 3 for a bit of contact as they now slide around. I think that's for behind Bushy Ants and Zach RC, but still this group continues on. Hoodie Pete holding the weight of the world behind him.
It really, really is, and that's very, very close between the 2 Van Amersfoort drivers in the black and orange. But I think Duncan is really going to try and get that position back. He was a little bit frustrated, but just before I kind of lost my internet for a moment, I was just saying that Duncan looks so strong in the earlier sprint. He struggled a little bit in qualifying and is kind of languishing down now in the midfield. But yeah, our sprint race winner is really kind of on the back foot in this one. Up against his teammate. He would love a points finish. He would really need it. And at this moment in time, it does look like with the penalties that are going to be applied. But my goodness me, that was very close. And of course, the #1 rule in motorsport: do not hit your teammate. And that is going to be a very good move. Meanwhile, back with the race lead. Kryzix to the outside of Formula Karim. Karim is going to really put up a big old shield in that one. And not this time for Kryzix, but he's still got potential in this one. But now, looking back here, this the 2 Van Amersfoorts. Jake, this is getting pretty tense.
Well, this is for 10th position. They'll look around and say, well, what have we got here to race for? It's a couple of points. They'll be looking at the end of the day, trying to keep himself in range. But you've got to keep your eyes peeled at the front of this field, because that's going to be where the story lies. Formula Karim has done what he needed to do to move in the front, but Crazy here has just been keeping himself in. And don't count Quats out in all of this. It's half a second back. This is the final lap of the race. It's been a long, possibly the longest ever F2 race series out there, running to try point, he's going to have an acre of pace out there. Duncan is disqualified for failure to use the required tyres that he's needed to, so he's going to be out. What a shame for him in terms of his race. I don't think he got the memo. But now they launch, and a big wiggle from Crazy might just open the door up here for Formula Karim when it comes to turn 12. They move up now through turn 10. 11 is there all the way to the inside trying to break some toe at half a second. Not sure how necessary that would have been, but now this is the straight where it matters, and the huge serpentine of Crazy to try and break the toe as much as he can at this stage. Formula Karim is doing what he can to make life difficult. Behind that, Adam Sanderson's there, and there goes the throw down the inside by Crazy. Can he get it slowed up on the exit? Yes, he can. And now it's going to be Karim around the outside. He's got the inside for the next section. Eyes bigger than a belly for Gwatz. He sees how important this is. Beams will cross going into the penultimate few corners. Brilliant stuff by Crazy as wheel-to-wheel contact comes into play. Karim on the inside, better tyres, holding that grip. Crazy holding on for dear life. He can't get what he wants. Penultimate corner comes in. Remember when it came to qualifying and when Formula Karim made these two corners his, he'll do it all over again. What a race by Formula Karim.
That was so close to the end, but Formula Karim taking a well-deserved victory, holding off the bigger battling beast behind of Kajix and Gwatz. Gwatz has so many opportunities to go up the inside, but just couldn't find that final pocket of space to go down. And what an end to this race. The final three drivers separated by 8.5 tenths of a second. Unbelievable for Formula 2, and really just shows that why this series is one of the best. Oh, there's a bit of cheeky contact there. A poor Ultra Killer in the MP getting tagged into the wall. Oh, that's just a sad way to end your race. But George will come over the line last in P16. But what about that amazing top three? F1 Scots getting P4 as well in the Rodin Motorsport car. The Scotsman will be absolutely delighted with that compared to his sprint efforts. But overall, what a man. Formula Karim taking the maximum points.
Well, that's what he does, and he knew how important it was going to be to get those points, to gain as much as possible out of this, and he has managed that with a big smile there. You can see he is getting what he wants out of this series, and that is another huge result. It is his second win of the season, and both of his wins have come at these mystery rounds where you don't quite know what the race is going to be. So I think that's where he's found his skill set out there compared to some of the other drivers, Adam, at this point. And F1 Scott holding on. I think it's been a tale of two out there with how these points have gone on, and it will also mean that Crazy, I think, is going to be the one who is going to jump to second in the championship now, with Mexico on the horizon in just 1 week.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do think that we are on for a really interesting championship. There's been some really good action all throughout both the races, and I think there's a lot of positives that a lot of these drivers can take away, and some improvements as well. Of course, they are going to be aware of Mexico coming up, so we're really looking to see how that kind of turns out, because it's such a really interesting circuit. Of course, long straights, of course, sweeping corners. You've also got tight corners as well, such as that stadium section. Of course, you've got the double chicanes. You've got the chicane of 4 and 5. That's going to be mighty interesting. And of course, it's going to be so difficult to get the traction out of the final corner. That it makes another recipe for absolute awesome racing. And Jake, I'm really looking forward to that already.
Well, I'm looking forward to it as much as you are. We're very quickly going to take the chance to talk to Formula Karim, who picks up his second race win of the season. Now, Karim, quite simply put, your skill set so far this season has come at these races where you don't know what it is until the day of the race. So for you, Is it a skill set of just being able to unlock that pace quickly? What has it been that makes these races, these styles of races, so good for you?
Well, it's lovely to talk to you guys. And I would say probably just the adaptability. Like, I'm confident that I'm cooking these cars anyway. I know I've said that a lot of times, but these cars suit me really well. So it's quite easy for me to just hop in and be quick straight away.
So you've got that ability and that pace, but talk us through all of what went on in that feature race that we had there. It had everything. It had safety cars, virtual safety cars, red flags, desyncs, back into position, and through it all, you found yourself with a big opportunity at the end and a massive hold off. We saw in your qualifying lap that it was the final two corners that took you from third to first. Was that what held you in good stead, the final two corners on that last lap?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I had a little bit less pace in them two corners because I was running lower wings. I'm not sure if you were able to tell, but quite a bit lower than everyone else. So those two corners were a bit of a struggle. But because of how late I pitted onto the softs and Kryzik's pitted early onto mediums, I think the tyre advantage was just way too much. So no matter what he tried, I think I was always going to have more grip and be able to get a better exit than him.
Well, the third of the season's gone through. You came in with a 16-point championship lead. You now look at Kryzy as your driver behind, who's going to be that driver to take up the mantle and the challenge to you. So you're almost a race win clear at this point, heading to Mexico. What are you feeling about that?
Well, I like Mexico in the F1 cars, and I'm pretty sure I like it in the F2. So yeah, it's good to have a good buffer to P2. But as we know, and as I've said it many times, Creator Series is about the content. And I did have a few messages from Hayden in my chat saying that if I didn't do last to first in any of the next races, I'll be shipped off to PSGL. So we'll see about that. Maybe cockpit cam, maybe last to first, we'll see.
Oops. Well, we'll see how that all plays out for you in the long and the short. We love Hayden here, but we love Formula Karam at this point. A second victory of this season, a third podium, absolutely dominant.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Formula Karam there joining us. We will get a chance to talk to someone else as well here. Adam Reed is going to stand by. He's got Gwats for company.
But good to talk to you. Wow, amazing race. But kind of talk to us throughout that first stint because it was very, very challenging.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so if we go back to the actual beginning, I started P9, managed to finesse it all the way up to P2, and then yeah, P2 at the restart. It was yeah, it was not ideal. I actually kind of forgot about that. But now that you mentioned it, yes, I did yeah. Luckily Adam hit me back in the right direction, which is very good for the when I almost died. So I got very lucky with that. Didn't get any damage as well. And then yeah, I basically just tried to undercut. Like that's the only thing I could really do was just try the undercut. And I mean, it worked because I obviously got the podium, and yeah, I just didn't have enough left to overtake Kryzik's. Like, I could have sent it, but it would have not, like, yeah, I would have probably just killed both of them, to be honest. I just had no grip. So luckily it did work. You know, I do like to win. So it would have been nice to get a win or a P2, but I'm very happy P3. So yeah, it worked out all right.
Of course, you say you've got these recent successes, and how kind of how will you take them? Will you take them forward, or will Mexico kind of be a big reset for you?
Well, I've had last season. I had a very good season last season. This season has been very bad. Though I think I'm like 15th. Well, not anymore, but I was like 15th or 16th in the championship out of like 22 people. So I was having a very bad season up until this point. So it was nice to. I think I've had some bad luck, so it was nice to get some good luck. Obviously, again, back to like going from P9 to P2 in the first place. That was all because of crashes in front of me, basically, that I managed to avoid. So it was nice to get some luck. And Mexico is my favorite track in the game, probably, I'd say, which I know is a bit of a weird one. So I'm excited for that, and we'll hopefully get a good result as well. And obviously, Kareem's going to be banished to the back of the grid, so that'll be even better. So yeah, that'll be it will be interesting race.
Also wanted to talk about kind of your adaptability, because of course You did have that desync, and then of course that red flag, and then you had that time to relax. What was it like trying to get back in the zone? Because there was a lot of talk in the commentary box. What was it like for you as a driver, sitting in that sim rig, having the adrenaline die down, and then being able to then having to get back into the zone, back into focus, and then having a race to go off?
Yeah, I think it's well, obviously people watching will know, but like people from the outside, like even though it is sim racing, it still does get your heart going. So it's obviously not ideal to have to wait that long. Obviously, there's nothing, it's part of the game. There's nothing we can do about it. But yeah, that's the main reason. I mean, I would have been pushing it to win anyway because Crysis is very quick and so is Kareem. But that's the main reason I made the mistake on the restart, because it's just like, you get all the shaky nerves going again. And then once I always get a bit shaky when the race first starts. After like 2 or 3 laps, I normally calm down. So that's the main cause for my almost crash, basically. So it can be a bit weird waiting that long. But yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much,
Congratulations on
guys.
your podium, and all the best in Mexico. I'm sure
Thank
we'll
you.
be.
I'm very excited to hear
watch
this
you once again.
commentary from the goats. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you as well. Thank you
Bye
for the
bye.
compliments.
No, it's okay, guys. You all look lovely today as well. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Scott's there joining us and having a whole heap of fun with what we've got. We're going to close the curtains though here on your F2 EA Creator Series action here from the circuit of the Americas. You can catch us on all our socials up there right now to keep a track on what's going on with the Creator Series. We'll be back tomorrow, but with what is the real question, because of course we've got a lot to try and dissect and get through, but it will be F1 action, so you do not want to miss it. From everyone who's been working on this, from Adam Reed, from myself, Jake Sperry, let's sit down and say the elephant in the room. Formula Karim is just that good. Hayden has decided he wants to rule with an iron fist. I want you to start at the back. You are running away with this championship. You are doing too good. Get close here in the EA Creator Series. Let's get this championship closer. But it is a short trip from 1 week to the next. We leave Austin, Texas. Hello, Mexico City. And hello, in 1 week's time, to your Autodromo, Hermanos Rodriguez.